"This isn't mashed potatoes, you idiot." My siblings laughed when I offered to care for Dad. Now they're suing me after learning I'm a millionaire. They called me a cafeteria worker and excluded me from Dad's care plan. Then my name showed up as keynote speaker at a 10K restaurant conference. Here's everything started. My family never let me forget that I was the ugly duckling. Every Christmas my sister Vanessa would find me in the kitchen, assisting Mom. "Julia, you need to think bigger. You can't hide in kitchens forever." My older brother would add, "At least get your degree first," while adjusting his Harvard clip like, "Thanks guys, I actually never thought about that one before." Their houses had security systems and 3-car garages. I rented a 1-bedroom apartment close to the railroad tracks and took the bus to work. They drove BMW vehicles with heated seats. When we went out for Mom's birthday, they'd order bottles of wine, while I'd stick with water. But here's something neither of them knew. I'd been running a restaurant consulting business from my flat. We started with one Excel spreadsheet and a calculator. It was built up through Instagram photos and word of mouth. Nothing fancy, just me researching food expenditures and developing systems until 4 a.m. My clientele consisted of 12 steakhouses and 3 large hotel chains downtown. I charged between $5,000 and $25,000 each assignment depending on the workload. I earned $340,000 after costs. Never told anyone in my family because, truthfully, I like being underestimated. Then Dad had a stroke. A huge one that rendered him largely incapacitated. Nobody told me about it. I found out when Mom brought it up during our weekly phone chat. "Your siblings won't be available. They're trying to figure out what to do about Dad." "Oh, what happened?" I said calmly, knowing that losing it meant Mom would stop giving me information. That is when she said it. My effing siblings started a group chat without me. I promptly hung up and called Daniel. Hey, maybe this was an accident, but why wasn't I included in the discussion about Dad?" He sighed as though he were explaining something to a child. "Julia, we need to be realistic here. Good facilities cost $8,000 a month. If you can get someone to cover your little hair job, maybe you can visit once a month." I promised him I would take care of Dad myself. He actually snorted. "Ha ha ha ha. I know you're not talking about moving him into that shoebox you live in. Julia, Dad needs round-the-clock medical care. This isn't like scooping mashed potatoes onto plastic trays." Vanessa jumped on the phone. "Daniel's right. We're talking about adult decisions here. Not something you can handle on a cafeteria worker's salary. Proper care." As if I'd simply prop Dad up with some tater tots and call it a day. That weekend, I did something that would make them regret their statements indefinitely. I drove around looking at homes for sale. Dad prefers ranch-style homes with spacious corridors and a ground-floor master bedroom, so we found a wonderful fit. Make a cash offer of $20,000 over the asking price. While my siblings debated who would handle Medicare, I hired contractors to construct grab bars and a roll-in shower. I interviewed home health agencies until I found the ideal team. All the while, my siblings shared links to gloomy care facilities an hour away from everyone. We moved Dad in. Didn't tell anyone, I just arrived at the hospital with the medical transportation that I had planned. Daniel was there, haggling with the social worker over a temporary placement. "It's handled," I remarked as I signed the discharge papers. "Dad's coming home with me." Vanessa chuckled her shrill, bitter laugh, which she had cultivated since childhood. "Julia, stop. This is embarrassing. You can barely afford your own life." My younger brother Travis eventually spoke up. "Let her try and fail. She'll come begging for help in a week when reality hits." I cared for Dad while running my business. He'd sit at my kitchen table, observing me, arranging papers, and telling me stories from his army days. My siblings made very seldom visits. Vanessa claimed she was too busy. Daniel stated that he didn't want to get stuck in traffic. Travis has stopped responding to texts. They did, however, continue to communicate via group chat. Mom would bring up their continuous disputes over long-term care institutions, as if they were waiting for me to fail. But then something lovely occurred. It appeared in the form of something large, heavy and dark. Vanessa's preppy little husband noticed my name on the speaker board at a restaurant business conference. It stated, "Julia Mitchell, turning failed restaurants into million-dollar success stories." He took a photo and sent it to the family group chat, along with 3 question marks. I just laughed and turned off my phone. But when I woke up, my phone was inundated with dozens of texts and missed calls. The initial voicemail was aggressive. The second one was threatening. By the 11th, they were nearly asking to discuss it sensibly. Vanessa sent the first message that I opened. "Pathological liar," with all caps. Then another. How dare you hide this from us while we worried ourselves sick about Dad's care costs? I laid my phone down and concentrated on preparing Dad's breakfast. My hands remained steady as I scrambled his eggs just the way he liked them, creamy with a hint of cream. The phone kept buzzing against the surface, causing a steady vibration that made the salt shaker move. Dad noticed the rumbling coming from his wheelchair. His good hand groped for the phone, raising curiosity. "Just the family having feelings," I said, setting his dish on the special tray attached to his chair. "Nothing that can't wait until after breakfast." The telephone rang. Daniel's name appeared over the screen. I responded to the speaker while fixing Dad's napkin, knowing he would want to hear whatever drama was going on. "Fraud!" Daniel shouted across the speaker. "Identity theft. Corporate deception. I have lawyer friends, Julia. This charade ends now." Dad's eyes expanded. His good hand grasped his fork tighter, but I maintained my voice level. "I never lied to anyone, Daniel. I just never corrected your assumptions about my life. You let us think you were poor. You watched us stress about Dad's care costs while sitting on a fortune. I'll expose you, Julia. I'll tell everyone at Garfield Elementary exactly what kind of person you really are. They deserve to know their cafeteria worker is a con artist." The call went dead. Dad's eggs remained untouched, his visage more attentive than I'd seen in weeks. A knock on the door broke the silence. Mrs. Chen from next door stood on my porch, holding a casserole dish and looking anxious. "I heard shouting," she replied, looking beyond me and toward Dad. "Everything okay?" "I brought extra lasagna from last night." Mrs. Chen had been delivering meals twice a week since Dad moved in, rejecting payment and always staying to talk with him about their mutual love of old war movies. She was well aware of my dedication to his care, as she frequently commented on the medical equipment and adjustments I had installed. "Family drama," I said, accepting the meal. "But we're managing." She patted my arm. "Your father is lucky to have you. Not many daughters would do what you do." As she went, my phone displayed a new text from Vanessa. "On my way over. You'll explain yourself." I helped Dad finish his breakfast and then began preparing him for physical therapy. His therapist was scheduled to arrive at 8 o'clock, so I needed him to be ready. While I gathered his exercise bands, a car door banged outside, followed by another. Vanessa smashed her fist at my front door. "Open up, Julia. We're not leaving until you explain this sick joke." Through the glass I noticed Travis's car approaching Vanessa's. The three siblings fell like a storm. I opened the door to find them gathered on my doorstep. Travis held his phone up to record. "For evidence," he stated. "In case we need it for legal proceedings." They surged past me without permission, with Vanessa leading the charge into my living room. Their gaze ran across the hospital bed in the corner, the lift system put in the ceiling, and the rows of medical equipment organized on special shelving. Daniel paused at the bathroom doorway, gazing at the roll-in shower and professional-grade grab bars. "This must have cost a fortune," Vanessa exclaimed, turning toward the kitchen. Her attention fell on my desk in the corner, where business cards were scattered from yesterday's video call. She grabbed one and read aloud. "Julia Mitchell, CEO, Mitchell Restaurant Solutions." Her face was devoid of color. "Yo." Daniel's methods changed suddenly. "Obviously a scam. You've been defrauding vulnerable restaurant owners, haven't you? Taking advantage of struggling businesses during tough times." The doorbell rang. Dad's physical therapist had arrived just on time. I let Ellis in and saw my siblings move aside as she pushed her equipment past them. "Morning, Mr. Mitchell," Ellis said brightly. "Ready to work those legs today?" While she was positioning Dad for his exercises, I took out my laptop. My siblings watched as I accessed my business banking portal. "7 figures, Travis said quietly, pausing his recording to lean closer. "Vanessa, do you see the tax implications here? She's been hiding assets while claiming..." "While claiming nothing," I interjected. "I never asked any of you for money. Never complained about being broke. You all just assumed." Vanessa was already holding her phone to her ear. "Mom, you need to hear this. Julia's been lying to all of us. She's actually rich, been hiding money while we've been unaliving ourselves trying to figure out Dad's care." I opened our old family group chat on my phone and scrolled through months of communications I had been excluded from. There it was. They carefully calculated my share of Dad's expenses. Based on her hourly pay, Daniel wrote, "Julia can contribute $73 monthly." "That seems high," Vanessa said. "She has rent to pay on that dump, $50 max." Travis had agreed. "We can't expect more from someone in her position." I showed them the screen. "This is what you thought I was worth." The family meeting that no one asked for has turned into a surprise episode of Guess Who's Actually Rich. And watching three siblings find that their poor sister earns more money than they do together is providing me with secondhand happiness I didn't realize I wanted. $50 for Dad's care. Daniel took his phone and screenshotted my photo from Garfield Elementary's website. Within seconds, he had forwarded it to our extended family group chat with the following caption: "Our millionaire sister who's been playing poor." My telephone rang. The principal's name was displayed on the screen. "Julia, I'm getting calls about some kind of family emergency. Your brother said you needed to be pulled from the shift immediately." "There's no need for an emergency," I informed her. "I'll be in for lunch service as usual." "Oh good, we can't function without you, but Julia, is everything okay? Your sister also called, sounding quite upset." After I hung up, I received another call from my supervisor at the district office. "Julia, I just received a concerning call about financial irregularities. Someone claiming to be your family member said you've been involved in fraud." Vanessa didn't even bother to appear embarrassed. People deserve to know who they're trusting with their children's food. Ellis continued to work with Dad throughout, professionally disregarding the family drama while guiding him through his exercises. Dad's gaze shifted between his children, soaking in everything. I shut my laptop. "I need to go see Mom. She deserves to hear the truth from me, not from Vanessa's hysterical phone calls." "We're not done here," Daniel cautioned. But I was already taking my keys and leaving them in my house with Dad and his therapist, trusting Ellis to take care of things until I returned. Mom's place was 20 minutes distant. Vanessa's account of events had caused her to burst into tears at her kitchen table. "How could you?" she inquired. "How could you let us worry like this?" I brought out my phone and accessed 5 years' worth of company tax records. Set it in front of her, and watch her eyes expand as she processes the numbers. "You paid more in taxes last year than Daniel makes in salary," she said quietly. "I built this business while everyone thought I was failing," I stated. "Started with nothing but determination and the skills everyone mocked me for having." My phone buzzed with texts from 3 separate restaurant customers. "Hey, got a weird call about your family situation. Is everything okay?" Vanessa saw my conference speaker bio online. "Public information is currently being utilized as ammunition." Another text from Mrs. Chen. "Someone was taking pictures of your house this morning. Thought you should know." Then, Dad's nurse. "Your brother tried to question me about your real job during my visit. I told him nothing but wanted you to be aware." I showed Mom the messages. "This is what they're doing. Trying to destroy what I built because they can't handle being wrong about me." A notification appeared on my phone. A fresh review on my business's Google page, posted minutes ago by an anonymous account. "Dishonest to own family. If she'll lie to them, what else is she hiding? Cannot be trusted." My biggest client contacted right away. "Julia, I'm looking at this review. What's going on?" I explained briefly and professionally without getting into too much details. He listened and then said, "I'll post our testimonial today. Anyone who saved my restaurants deserves better than this." By the time I returned home, my siblings had left. Ellis was ending Dad's lesson, and he appeared fatigued but satisfied with his progress. 40% more range of motion than last month, she noted. "Whatever you're doing, keep it up. The consistency of care here is making a real difference." After she left, I sat with Dad while he recuperated from treatment. My phone was bombarding me with notifications. Uncle Pete inquired if I needed bail money. Former classmates expressed concern about what was happening on social media. More clients have expressed worry. But Dad's hand grabbed mine and squeezed with his good side. His eyes were clearer than they had been before the stroke, and they met mine with understanding. I squeezed back. "We're okay, Dad. Let them rage. We know the truth." The next morning, a new wave of attacks began. Vanessa's Facebook posts on familial betrayal and wolves in sheep's clothing acquired popularity overnight. Mutual friends were taking sides, with most not understanding the complete tale. I screenshotted everything, including posts labeling me as mentally unstable and pathological, as well as comments from people who had never met me but weighed in on my character. Evidence that I may need later. While serving lunch to 500 elementary school students at work, I noticed whispering among the parents assisting in the cafeteria. Some people stared. Others avoided eye contact. But Rosa, who had worked with me for 8 years, remained strong. "Anyone who believes that garbage doesn't know you," she exclaimed louder than necessary. 15 years you've been here, never missing a day, treating these kids like your own." The principal came by during the service. HR wants to meet with you about financial disclosure concerns. I told them it was ridiculous. I understand, I answered, continuing to dish the chicken nuggets with a smile. When? Tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Julia, I want you to know I'm in your corner. Whatever's happening with your family, it doesn't change who you are here. That evening I put security cameras throughout my home. The garbage cans had been moved again, and all of the promotional flyers I had in my car for networking had vanished. Someone was going beyond angry texts. As I positioned the cameras, Dad nodded assent from his wheelchair. His speech treatment was advancing, and he was able to speak. Smart girl. That night, 3 restaurant owners called and offered to write letters to the school board regarding my ethics. One was the board president's favorite lunch spot. She saved us from bankruptcy in 2018, the proprietor informed me. Restructured our entire operation. I'll make sure they know exactly who Julia Mitchell really is. The irony was not lost on me. My siblings' attempts to undermine my reputation revealed how many people I had impacted through my job. People came forward with testimonials about how I helped them. I had been too humble to seek myself out. However, the attacks continued. Someone called Dad's doctor and claimed to be checking his medical state. The bank informed me of attempts to verify my power over Dad's accounts. Vanessa contacted my first client from 2009, looking for inconsistencies in previous services. Each attack caused bewilderment among those who knew me. My clients, colleagues, and neighbors all saw through the smear effort. However, it was tiring to play defense while attempting to maintain routine for Dad. The breakthrough occurred during a family supper with Vanessa present. Dad delivered his first intelligible sentence in months. Julia, good daughter. Vanessa stormed away without saying a word. Daniel arrived to the elementary school the next morning, during my shift. I saw him through the serving window, standing in the cafeteria entrance, wearing his fine suit and scanning the lunch line like he was performing a medical examination. The kids noticed the tension right away. Several people stopped talking to watch this stranger who definitely didn't belong. As Daniel approached the counter, I continued to serve mac and cheese, keeping my movement steady. He leaned over the sneeze guard, his cologne masking the aroma of cafeteria food. I could see him planning how to maximize humiliation. He insisted that I share what he called the wealth I'd stolen from them, his voice echoing throughout the cafeteria, causing teachers to look up from their lunch monitoring. I simply shook my head and continued to portion food onto trays. Daniel's face flushed as he realized I would not engage in front of the children. The principal appeared at his elbow, professionally leading him to the exit. Daniel left, but not before loudly proclaiming that I would hear from his lawyers regarding the family assets I had hidden. A few parents exchanged looks. The damage was done. That afternoon, Travis's wife, Megan, texted me privately. She had no awareness about any of this, she stated. The message was brief but appeared genuine. I tucked it aside, unsure what to make of this schism in the familial unit. My conference organizer contacted while I was assisting Dad with his evening meds. Next month's keynote was still scheduled, but given my family situation, it may be moved if necessary. I told them that I'd be there. Dad nodded approvingly from his wheelchair. While reviewing the harassment pattern, I learned how crucial it is to keep professional commitments. My siblings had only contacted my job and neighbors, not my actual clientele. They had discovered my public speaking engagements, but had not delved deeper into my commercial contacts. Their attacks were superficial, based on what they could discover from Google searches. 3 restaurant owners independently offered to submit letters to the school board regarding my honesty. The owner of Morello's, the board president's preferred lunch location, was very demanding. He remembered how I had saved his family firm from bankruptcy in 2018 by revamping their entire operation just weeks before it was about to close. Rosa coordinated the cafeteria personnel without my knowing. They silently collaborated to cover my duties if I needed to deal with family emergencies. The principal noted the teamwork and commented on the loyalty I had fostered in my coworkers. Dad's physical therapist noted the finest progress yet during the morning session. Ellis ascribed it to a stable home environment and a constant care regimen. His range of motion has increased by another 15%, beyond all medical predictions. I chronicled everything, anticipating that I could need this information later. I continued to serve lunch daily while handling business calls between shifts. My phone remained silent in my pocket, but I could feel it vibrating frequently with fresh texts. Daniel arriving at the elementary school in his fine suit to confront someone serving mac and cheese is akin to wearing a tuxedo to a food fight, entirely missing the point while overdressed for the occasion. My ability to compartmentalize, honed during years of running a business while working full-time, has served me well now. Vanessa confronted me at the Kroger parking lot that evening. I had just finished grocery shopping for Dad's special diet when she came next to my car. I calmly got out my phone and began recording, making it clear that I was documenting the exchange. She complained about betrayal and dishonesty as I carried goods into my trunk. Then something unexpected occurred. Her voice cracked, and she confessed that she had always been jealous. The admission seemed to astonish her just as much as it did me. She hastily covered it up with more wrath, but the truth had leaked out. The local business journal editor contacted the following morning. They had heard about my tale through the Restaurant Association and wanted to include it in their success stories column. I agreed to the interview because I saw an opportunity to shape the narrative. Megan arrived that afternoon while Travis was at work. She appeared at my door, looking uneasy but resolute. She apologized for Travis's actions, stating that she had been kept in the dark regarding the family dynamic. We sat in my kitchen while Dad dozed, and she offered her thoughts on the matter. When I showed Mom my phone, she noticed the history of our family group chats. She scanned through months of texts, her face becoming paler with each one. They had distributed my contributions based on the minimal pay. They had talked about my restrictions and realistic expectations for someone in my position. They even said I wouldn't grasp the medical terminology used in Dad's treatment. Her hands shook as she handed the phone back. The proof that they had systematically excluded and devalued me was undeniable. She had participated in some of these chats, but she claimed not to have paid attention to the facts. My clients planned an appreciation meal without notifying me. When I arrived at what I assumed was a typical consultation, I discovered that 20 restaurant owners had gathered to demonstrate their support. They had all prepared testimonies about how my work had helped their businesses. The act shocked me more than any of my siblings' attacks. Daniel observed my automobile as he drove by the expensive restaurant. He surged in, pushing past the hostess and confronting me during the client dinner. The room grew silent as he accused me of showing off my money while our family struggled. My clients were surprised as he divulged more about himself than about me. The restaurant owner personally walked Daniel out. Several clients came me subsequently, telling me about family members who had resented their achievement. The incident really improved our professional connections. 3 Garfield Elementary families came out in support. They had learned the truth from restaurant proprietors in our community. One parent told me that their business came about as a result of my consulting 3 years ago. Their children went to the school where I served lunch, and they wanted me to know they supported me. Evan, Vanessa's husband, sent her an unexpected text. He apologized for the photograph that sparked everything. He had no idea it would lead to such pandemonium. The message was brief and was deliberately phrased, as if he was attempting to separate himself from the issue. Mom discovered a revelation that completely transformed her perspective. While digging through old cards, she discovered some that Dad had written to me over the years. Proud of my entrepreneur, one of my siblings joked 5 years ago, insulting my cafeteria job. My daughter, the business owner, another added. Dad knew all along and kept my secret. The security service I hired began the following week. Daniel had parked outside my house 3 times, just sitting in his car, checking on Dad. While legally legal, his behavior was disconcerting. The security company placed more cameras and started random patrols. The whole cafeteria crew signed a letter of support for me to the school board. Rosa had quietly orchestrated it, getting signatures from everyone who had worked with me over the years. Even retired employees have provided comments regarding my character and work ethic. Vanessa's Facebook outbursts were increasingly erratic. Her messages became longer and more meandering, full of contradictions and claims that made no sense. Mutual friends started distancing themselves, discreetly emailing me to apologize for first accepting her version. Dad reached a significant milestone throughout therapy. When the social worker visited for a routine check, he was able to write, "Julia stays," on the communication board. His handwriting was shaky, but legible. The social worker was impressed with the quality of care I provided, noting the professional equipment and meticulous care logs I kept. The essay was published in a local business journal. The headline stated, "L worker builds consulting empire while serving students." The post focused on my dual profession and dedication to both responsibilities. My phone burst with congratulations from clients and co-workers who had no idea about my cafeteria employment. I took out my employee handbook from the school district. 15 years of immaculate attendance reflected back at me from the pages. Not one sick day was taken. Despite working late hours and early mornings to create a business, the record demonstrated a level of dedication that my siblings could not comprehend. Mom's lease ended the following month. She asked to move in with me and Dad, acknowledging she had picked the wrong team. The plea brought tears and apologies. I accepted, seeing a chance to mend our connection, while also providing Dad with greater family support. The Restaurant Association board member disclosed something frightening. Vanessa had called to submit an official complaint against my business. She alleged that I was operating without legal permissions and scamming clients. The board member dismissed it instantly, knowing my reputation, but wanted me to be informed of the attempt. A scheduling clash required a difficult decision. Dad's essential neurology checkup coincided with my conference keynote. The choice was quick and unambiguous. I picked Dad and asked the conference organizers to webcast my lecture instead. My message about priorities resonated with the virtual audience. Success means nothing without a family who truly supports you, I told you. The stream attracted more spectators than an in-person event would have. Following that, several additional clients contacted me because they were drawn to my real approach to work-life balance. Daniel's medical practice partners asked him about his familial status. His behavior at work had grown irregular, compromising patient care. He had been preoccupied, taking personal calls between sessions and leaving early to drive past my house. The senior partners voiced concern for his professional reputation. Following their investigation, the school board found no evidence of wrongdoing against me. The HR meeting I dreaded became a formality. The board president personally came, having heard about my integrity from several restaurant owners. They apologized for the inconvenience and praised my service to the district. Travis returned my spare key in person. He showed up at my home one evening, shuffling his feet like a disciplined toddler. He whispered an apology and barely made eye contact. "Megan made me come," he said. The interaction was awkward, but it indicated growth. Vanessa wrote what appeared to be a final desperate SMS. She said that I owed them for their years of assistance. The note was lengthy and rambling, describing every perceived affront and sacrifice she had made. The delusion was complete. She had rewrote history to portray herself as my benefactor. I replied with receipts. They assumed I was broke, so I paid for every dinner I had. Regardless of my claimed poverty, I had given every birthday gift. Every time I'd pay the bill as they moaned about my lifestyle choices. The evidence was overwhelming and clear. The siblings retreated for 2 weeks. The sudden silence seemed menacing rather than peaceful. No texts, no calls, and no unexpected visitors. Even their social media accounts became quiet. I knew better than to assume it was over. Dad's old pals began to visit. His former army mates, poker group, and church friends had heard of his progress. His former pastor informed me that they had always known I would succeed. They'd seen me work many jobs in high school and recognized my determination, even as a youngster. 3 new prospects approached me after hearing about my story via professional networks. One was especially intriguing in a country club restaurant where Daniel was a member. They required a comprehensive operational revamp and particularly solicited my expertise. After hearing about my business approach, I gave a presentation at the conference on how to create a business while working. The audience gave a standing ovation. My narrative of educating elementary students by day and advising for restaurants by night struck a chord with businesses who had encountered similar familial mistrust. I returned home after the conference to find my siblings' automobiles in the driveway. Through the window, I could see them encircling Mom in my living room. Their body language was hostile, with a leaning in and strong gesture. They were urging her to sell Dad's assets for his care. I stepped through my front door to discover my siblings in full manipulating mode. Mom sat on my couch, surrounded by Daniel, Vanessa, and Travis, all leaning in with documents on the coffee table. Dad observed from his wheelchair near the window, his jaw clenched in irritation. Daniel held up a document as I arrived. Legal papers about conservatorship. My stomach fell, but I maintained a neutral expression while setting down my conference documents. The next morning, I got a text from a legal acquaintance who had overheard Daniel talking about Dad's conservatorship at the country club. The warning gave me a 2-day head start. Daniel continues to park outside like a medical degree stalker, prompting security cameras and random patrols. That's taking house calls to an entirely new disturbing level that no one requested. I drove straight to the courtroom and filed for official caregiving documents, with Dad's delighted approval. His hand was solid as he signed, his eyes clear and determined. During our next therapy appointment, Ellis gave us a full assessment of Dad's care quality. She recorded his development, the professional equipment, and the constancy of his treatment plan. Her medical evaluation had weight that my siblings could not deny. Vanessa realized 3 days later that I had already filed the paperwork. She cornered me outside the courthouse after checking on their abandoned conservatorship case. Her face twisted in wrath as she yelled threats that this would not end. A local reporter, who was following a different story, overheard the confrontation and began taking notes. The anonymous harassment began the next morning. A message tucked beneath my windshield wiper stated that some people should remain in their positions. The handwriting was purposefully disguised, with blocky letters that could have been anyone's. Security footage from my new cameras captured a man in a hoodie, his face concealed, but the timing perfectly matched my siblings' alibis. My elementary school classmates became concerned about safety. Rosa set up a buddy system for walking to automobiles after shifts. The principal enhanced security patrols during lunchtime. The youngsters noticed the tension, but responded with the resiliency that children always demonstrate. While dealing with the harassment, I experienced a serious client problem. During a busy weekend, their POS system crashed, threatening thousands of dollars in missed income. I had to manage the emergency remotely while ensuring Dad's safety by coordinating phone calls and security company check-ins. The scenario required a difficult decision. I took a week off from primary school to prioritize Dad's security and my business commitments. The decision seemed like allowing my brothers to win, but Dad's safety came first. Garfield students responded by producing a big banner that read, "We miss Julia," and hung it in the cafeteria. Thanksgiving loomed with the weight of familial obligations. Mom insisted on hosting supper at my house, claiming that the family needed to confront reality together. No amount of logic could persuade her. She had already notified my siblings, who had no choice but to attend or suffer her disappointment. Vanessa arrived 2 hours early, ostensibly to assist with cooking, but truly to focus on Mom. I heard her in the kitchen, twisting the story of my deception while I assisted Dad with his morning ritual. Mom's reactions got shorter and sharper as Vanessa's influence became more apparent. Daniel arrived next, and he quickly pulled out his phone to look through old family group chats. He read them aloud, emphasizing every joke about my cafeteria employment and every contemptuous comment about my abilities. He seemed to have missed the irony that he was supplying evidence of their behavior rather than mine. Megan and Travis entered together, but Megan quickly took me aside in the corridor. Her palm lingered on her stomach as she announced her pregnancy. She wanted better for her child than the destructive dynamics that our family fostered. Her proclamation of support felt like a minor triumph in the greater conflict. The dinner table became a battleground for passive anger and barely restrained resentment. I concentrated on serving Dad, ensuring that he could eat comfortably despite the stress. My siblings picked at their meals, the weight of unsaid accusations hanging in the air. Then I did something unexpected. I volunteered to help them with their debt. The words hung in the air as a challenge. Daniel's cheeks became scarlet as he vented about not requiring pity money. His reaction confirmed what I suspected. He was overleveraged, wallowing in college debt despite his high pay. Vanessa broke down next, tears flowing down her cheeks. She admitted Evan had abandoned her. He had seen her Facebook rants and obsessive behavior and decided he didn't want any part of it. The divorce papers were filed the previous week. Her idyllic social media existence had crumbled. Dad chose that opportunity to deliver his most spectacular recovery statement to yet. He rolled himself to the dining room doorway and spoke firmly. All his children were successful. The words landed differently than intended. Success, he hinted, was more than simply money. Travis made the first sincere apology of the evening. He acknowledged to following our older siblings' lead and never questioning their assumptions about me. His confession lacked Daniel and Vanessa's dramatics, yet it felt more genuine because of its simplicity. I established one need for moving forward: respect for all sorts of work. I would keep my cafeteria position since those youngsters were important to me. Whether or not my siblings realized it, the job was dignified. My company's success did not decrease the importance of providing lunch to elementary pupils. Daniel finally admitted that his hatred originated from overwhelming college loans. He assumed I lived without financial constraints, whereas he struggled despite his large salary. The revelation explained years of disdain, as he had projected his own financial difficulties onto me. For the first time in decades, our family had an open discussion. Not comfy, not easy, but real. Years of assumptions and resentments were revealed over turkey and stuffing. Mom watched it all unfold with tears in her eyes, suddenly realizing the dynamics she had created. She declared that she was staying with me permanently. Her lease was over, and she had already transferred most of her belongings. She revealed that I was the only one who visited Dad on a weekly basis prior to his stroke, the only one who made time for family when there was nothing to gain. During dessert, my phone alerted me to a client SMS. For once, I turned it off without checking. Family came first, even a challenging family dealing with years of dysfunction. The company could tolerate a few hours of inattention. 6 months later, things had settled into a new routine. I continued to serve lunch at Garfield Elementary before afternoon consultations. The kids had welcomed me back with homemade cards and exuberant embraces. Their parents were now aware of my business, but their perception of me remained unchanged. I was still Miss Julia, who knew every child's name and preferred meal. Dad walked with a walker at my second conference speech. His improvement had surpassed all medical expectations, and his determination inspired the other stroke survivors in attendance. He sat in the front row, grinning, as I talked about achieving success without sacrificing your roots. Mom had become an unofficial part of my firm, handling scheduling and correspondence from her house. Her organizing abilities, which had previously been wasted on dealing with family dysfunction, proved useful in keeping my burgeoning customer base organized. Travis visited with his baby daughter on a weekly basis. Megan had given birth to a healthy girl, who would grow up to value all effort equally. Travis had started therapy to overcome his follower attitude and accept responsibility for his actions. Daniel greeted me at a medical fundraiser and introduced me to colleagues as his successful sister without qualifier. The admittance cost him money, but he made it. We were not there yet, and we may never be, but public recognition was a step forward. Vanessa went through intensive therapy, addressing the envy and bitterness that had poisoned her outlook. We exchanged brief texts about Dad's care, but nothing more. Evan had been a calming presence in her life, and without him, she'd had to face difficult realities. The family was not flawless. We would probably never have pleasant Christmas parties or casual sibling bonds, but we had discovered honesty. The facts I'd presented had shattered their comfy notions, causing growth that should have occurred years earlier. My business thrived alongside my cafeteria work. Clients valued my dedication to both roles, viewing it as proof of integrity rather than constraint. Elementary school had become a selling factor. Someone who showed up every day for the kids could be trusted with their restaurants. Dad's recuperation remained the true victory. He had regained mobility and speech after receiving constant therapy and stable care. His eyes no longer bore the anxiety of those early post-stroke days. He was at home, surrounded by family members who had finally learnt to see one another clearly. The respect I expected was not limited to my professional choices. It was about seeing people as they are, not as we expect them to be. My siblings had learned the lesson cruelly, publicly, and profoundly. The cafeteria worker they fired had been saving restaurants and establishing an empire they couldn't fathom. Some nights, as I reviewed contracts while Dad watched TV nearby, I reflected on the journey that got me here. Years spent working before daybreak, the delicate balance between two careers. The decision to remain silent while family members insulted my choices. Every choice has led to this point. Success on my terms. My family has finally seen me. And the awareness that respect was gained via action, rather than assumption. The truth had not set us free in a fairy tale conclusion. Instead, it encouraged us to face reality and rebuild something more honest. My siblings' attempts to harm me had simply highlighted the life I had created, and the people who actually cared. In the end, that was more valuable than their approbation ever was.